Hello and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. I'm Tracy, also known as MercyTiara, and I bring you scrapbooking process videos and more here on my channel. Today I am working on my early May spread in my project life. I'm using Ellie Edwards' May Week in the Life kit. I do my project life spreads usually 2 per month, sometimes with inserts and sometimes without. So this is what early May looked like for me. I start with my templates, which are just pieces of paper that have the Design A Becky Higgins page protector layout in it, kind of like written out on it with a marker and rulers, how I made those. And I always start with laying out my photos. Now, for the early May spread, I always use the card like the one that's in the top left-hand corner that says 05 May Memories. That card repeats every month. She sends a new one in the kit, and so that is always in that spot or a similar spot. And then I just lay all of the other photos around it. Now, there was a card that had a grid on it. It was a 2x3 grid. You see it down there, kind of center bottom. I just touched it. That I pre-measured my photos to make sure that my photos would fit inside of it. Those photos are printed at just over 1.25, just under 1.5 actually, to fit inside of that. I have this 4x6 card that I'm thinking about cutting down into a 3x4 card, but oh wait, we have this 3x4 card, so we'll use that one instead. There's another grid here, which is on vellum, and I thought maybe I might play around with using that as part of my flip. There's going to be a couple of different flips on this page. I love that this kit comes with so many repeating elements. There's always the top card that I talked about in the top left-hand corner, which I use as a title, but then there's always that card that says May over and over again in the bottom left-hand corner right now. They're sitting there. And that is always 3 letters of the month and in different colors. And I love having that on my pages as well. Because I have 2 pages per month, I can kind of spread around my repeating elements. That she gives enough of them that I can have one set of repeating elements on one page and another set of repeating elements on the other page, and have each page look tied together within itself, but also across the 2 pages. The color scheme is always consistent and whatnot. You saw me just look through that little pouch of supplies. That's my extra May supplies from other Project Life kits over the years. Whenever I have a month themed leftover, I just stick it into one of those pouches. I have a pouch made for, well, I have 12 of them, one for each month. And so I can put any themed items in there. I try to use up my themed items before the month is over, so I don't have too much accumulating in those pouches. As you can see by this point, the layout is pretty filled in, like the design is pretty filled in, and I have a pretty good sense of what's going to go where. I just don't know exactly how I'm going to embellish it. So let's jump right in and start doing this grid card, because I do have a sense of how I want this one to look. I'm going to trim down my photos so that there is basically, this grid has frames on it, right? And I want to see the insides of the frames on each one. So each square has 2 different colors. And I want to have the white edging on my photos show, as well as a little tiny smidge of the color in the centers of the frames. So in this case, pink, and in this case, white. In this case, a purpley pink, and in this case, white. And then in this case, it's like a grayish kind of a color. And since this is going to be a flip card, I was thinking it might be fun to have the grid repeat on the inside. So I'm thinking I might do that. I also have this card with the dots on it that I thought might be able to hold both some journaling and also a printout I have from the hiking app that we use. I'm going to grab a hinge. These are hinges that I made ahead of time. Oh, I'm also grabbing some tabs here. These are circle, what are they called? Like acetate? Yeah, they're circle acetate pieces that I can use as a tab. Now these hinges are just 2x6-inch cardstock that I pre-cut and pre-scored way back in January. I cut and scored a whole bunch of them. So I have those on hand at all times because I make a lot of these tent fold flips for my Project Life pages. So I'm thinking I can put this right there, and then it's going to hold my panoramic photo. See that long one I have there? And I'm going to put it right down the center. And so it repeats that grid, but it actually looks quite different inside. Now, I do like putting magnets in my flip cards because it helps them hold them down. It doesn't hold them down error-free, but it, for the most part, holds them down pretty well. So I did glue a little magnet in the top there, in between the layer of the vellum and the cardstock, and then I'm just adding another magnet right here. You just want to make sure that you're not putting them down so that they repel each other. You want to make sure you're paying attention to the orientation of your magnets. Just cutting off the top little bit of that because it wasn't necessary, and it also allows that piece to be framed by the dotted paper, the cardstock that has it's like a craft cardstock with tiny little dots. So I'm going to place that right there, and it just gives information about the root so that I don't have to include it in my journaling. I might as well add this little chip of acetate here. It's like a very thick acetate. It's not acrylic, but it's thick. And that'll serve as my little tab that makes you know to open up and interact with this element. I'm thinking about using some other elements. There's plenty of colorful items in this kit, and I'd love to use some of them, but I have not figured out a way to do that. I was going to run some washi tape along that, and I just thought, you know what, I don't necessarily want to clutter it. I think I like the plainness of this, so I'm going to not clutter it. I have a journaling template here. It's just a stencil with journaling lines on it. And I drew some lines in pencil, and then I'm going to journal on it with my Sharpie pen. Sharpie pens are different than Sharpie markers. I love my Sharpie pen. It's my general journaling pen for almost everything in my scrapbook, but a Sharpie marker would actually bleed on paper like this, so make sure that you're grabbing a Sharpie pen for your journaling and not a Sharpie marker. Sharpie markers are good on slick surfaces. My journaling here says, "This was a highly technical trail with a steep incline. I'm proud to have tried it, but was not able to get to the top. I sent Scott ahead to see the lookout and tried not to think about every scary movie as I waited alone in the forest. There was nobody else on this trail." And it was a little creepy just for a second. I kind of very quickly just kind of started noticing the forest. I did some mindfulness and just kind of like, soaked up the beauty and everything going on. And there were bugs nearby that I was checking out. And yeah, it ended up being a great experience. It could have been creepy, but it wasn't. I'll do another flip right here. So I have another one of those hinges. I like to put score tape on the top part of the hinge, the part that's outside of the pocket, just so that that top layer doesn't let go. I don't think it would with regular adhesive, but I just don't want to risk it. So I always use score tape here. I'm putting that photo, which is a photo of Liv's new living room. It was new at the time. I'm narrating this in August, so it's not new anymore. She had just moved in. And in the pages before, I would have documented the move-in process. So this kind of follows nicely. I like my project life to tell a story, an ongoing story. Sometimes when we have ongoing stories in our lives. I'm adding the magnet there, and then I will just place this. This is a really nice strawberry design of cardstock that came in the kit. I'll place that there, and then I'm just going to place the other magnet right there so that they can stick to each other and hold the thing closed. Now, this is something I sometimes do, not always, but I like to put a piece of washi tape over these magnets because it helps It helps the next thing slide in without getting stuck on the magnet. So on the back side of each of these pockets, there's going to be another card. And when you slide that in, if the magnet is not covered in washi tape, sometimes sliding that in gets caught on the magnet. So a number of these little words in Ali Edwards' handwriting came in the kit. This one says currently. I put it on the outside. I'm going to come back to that and add something to it. First, I found another one of those circle acetate pieces. And I'm actually going to, I thought about sandwiching it in between the two layers, but I decided to just put it on the inside layer. So it's overlapping the strawberries. I'm going to do some journaling right on the floor here. There's this wide open space. I'm using that same template, but this time I'm skipping every other line so that the lines are bigger. And I'm writing, those cupboard doors still haven't been replaced. Grr. They have been replaced now, but they weren't. It took them a while to replace them. There was a horrible water. To say it was a stain is not doing it justice. It was basically the cupboard was completely ruined from water damage, and it wasn't just not looking good, like it didn't close properly, and it was completely black, and the cupboards are actually white, so it looked really horrible, and it took them a while. It's, landlords. Anyways, such is the life of a 20-something, right? We've got a little tag here that came in the kit. It coordinates so nicely with those strawberries. I just love it. And it says, love this, in the same pink that is on the strawberries. So I am threading it with some twine. I'm just going to use it as an embellishment, putting it off to the side there. I'm going to add a couple of enamel dots. This is my entire enamel dot collection right here. I got rid of my enamel dots. I used to store them by the color. It was great when I did a lot of scrapbooking, but I found I just wasn't using them, so I just got rid of them. I sold them to somebody on Marketplace. Now this is a screenshot of a calendar event where we had to pick up Scott's race kit. He was running the Blue Nose Marathon that week, so I wanted to document that. I don't know that I took any pictures of the actual marathon, so that way it's kind of noting it by the calendar event. Now this is a little label that came in the kit, and I'm just writing down, dropping off Liv's MCAT books. Then I'm grabbing a roller date stamp. I'm using the tiny little Ali Edwards one that uses smaller font. I'm putting the date of May 15th on there. This is the restaurant that they took me to for Mother's Day. It's called Tiara. They thought that it was cute that it has the same name as my YouTube name. It is a Persian restaurant. It was delicious. Oh my goodness. It was some of the best food I've ever had in my life. It was so good. So I'm going to put that on this memories card or moments. It says moments. And there are 3 of these that will show up in various places on this page. So again, with repetition, right? Then I'm adding a caption. It just says, the fam took me to this new Persian restaurant for Mom's Day, because I ran out of room for Mother's Day. Here's another one of those moments cards. And for this one, I have a little square screenshot of Liv's Tomodachi Life game. So I'm looking in my stamps for my video game stamp set. I know I have one that has a switch on it. There's a couple of them right there. So I narrowed it down to the gaming ones, both board games and gaming. But I think I'm going to go with this one because it does include the Switch. It has a Switch controller. And I thought I could basically put each Joy-Con on, like one Joy-Con on each side of the photo and make it look like, I mean, obviously it's not the right shape or size, but it kind of looks like it's using a handheld Switch. So I'm going to ink up the Joy-Cons, or I guess the controller. And I'm going to stamp it on a piece of craft cardstock, and then I'm going to cut out each side of it. Like basically I'm going to cut the Joy-Con off of each side of this image. Just like that. There we go. And then I'll do the same on the other one. And this is not exactly how a Switch would look if it were being played in handheld mode, but it's pretty close. And if you had grips, it would look like that actually. Except of course the screen would be much wider than a square, but I'm taking some creative license given that this is a tiny little 3x4 inch card. I think it looks cute with a final product here. Aww. The last thing for me to do here is to do a tiny little caption, and I'm just writing, "The girls are having a blast with Tomodachi life." Underline that to make it feel like it belongs. And this is how this page is shaping up. I do want to repeat the handwritten die cuts here. So I'm going to take the celebrate one, celebrating, and put it on the photo of, that's actually Scott's plate. I liked Scott's meal more than I liked my own. My own was delicious too. But if I ever go back, I am ordering Scott's dish for sure. So I did take a picture of his, and that's the one that made it into the scrapbook. Now we're going to add the outside handwritten die cut right there, and then we're going to add this one that says beautiful to the trail that I was on. And these little pieces, these little black ones, these little black strips came in the kit, but I felt like the black was just too dark. It didn't work with, especially with this photo. It might have worked with the other ones, but it didn't feel like it worked with this one. I'm going to come across this set of word strips. They're in a dark green, and I think it really coordinates well with, first of all, the May title card is a really rich forest green. And also, I mean, we're in the forest in this photo, so it works particularly well with this photo, but it'll end up working with all of them. So I'm going to take a different word strip and add it to each of the Ali Edwards word die cuts. I almost changed my mind there. That one said "so good." The one in the forest said "challenge yourself," which that hike was a very challenging hike. I challenged myself lots of times on that one. And here I'm putting Gold Star because that was an excellent restaurant. And on this one, I'm putting Love This. Now I have this one that says garden, and I thought, well, I've got some garden photos here, so let's use that one too. I put overdue on that one because it was definitely, that forsythia was so overgrown. It was all crisscrossy and way up past the first roof of our house, and I trimmed it down to nothing. It made it a stub. It's now probably 4 or 5 feet tall, and that was in May, and it's now August, and it's 4 or 5 feet tall. Grew back so fast. Here's the third moment card. This one holds a photo of a maple bud on our deck. Just think that these little maple buds, they look so pretty when there's a couple weeks every May where our whole front yard is filled with these maple buds. And they're just so pretty and fluffy looking and detailed. They're very intricate. My caption there says, "Maple buds all over the deck." I have 2 options for this garden overdue photo, but I think I'm just going to use the one. Just moving stuff around as I try to figure out what I'm going to do. I think I will use the second garden photo because it shows how the garden looks after the forsythia was chopped down. There's still branches on the ground in front of where it was, but you still get the vibe of what the garden looks like without it. At least, you know, nothing is grown yet. There's no leaves on anything. I really like this card right here, and it picks up on the yellow from the forsythia, so I'm going to use that to hold my journaling. Also, that shape looks like it's pointing down to the photo, so there's that. Now what I'd like to do is take that 3x4 inch card that I'm pointing to that says 1, 2, 3, and I'd like to put journaling for 3 of the photos and then put numbers in 3 of the photos to say which photo each of those journaling pieces goes with. It looks like first I'm thinking about doing my journaling for the forsythia. But you know what? I need to stop scrapbooking because it's the afternoon and I am finished for the day. So I'm actually going to come back and pick up where I left off another week. So here I am a few days later, and I am pulling everything back out so that I can pick up where I left off. Now I do have to familiarize myself. I left myself a little cat-shaped post-it note to remind me what I wanted to journal on that yellow spot above the forsythia plant. But it looks like first I am deciding to go ahead and follow through on this idea of having the 1, 2, 3 journaling and then 1, 2, 3 spots on my layout to show where the journaling goes, which photo the journaling refers to. Pardon me. So I have this little stamp set. I'm pretty sure it's from Ellie's Studio, and it's these tiny little number fonts. Don't mind the alarm clock. It just reminds me I have ADHD, and if I get into the flow, sometimes I'll forget to check in with the tiaras. So I do live stream all of these videos on Patreon, and I like to check out the Discord so I can see what everybody else is working on while I'm working on this. So that's what I set the alarm for, if you ever see that. I'm picking out some colors of ink that coordinate with the 1, 2, 3. So 1 is a really deep, like a royal blue, 2 is a bright red, and 3 is a purpley color. So I picked out some colors from Stampin' Up. I think this is Poppy Parade for the red. And I haven't decided where it's going to go yet. Then for 2, I'm using Blueberry Bushel. No, 2 was for 2 was in Poppy Parade. I think I'm doing 1 in Blueberry Bushel, and I'm just using a punch to punch those out. And then this is Rich Razzleberry, and I stamped number 3. Sorry that it's off screen. And my camera must not be zoomed out enough, so apologies for that. And then we have 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Let's figure out how we're going to do this now. So 1 is going to be the farmer's market here. I'm going to outline this little teensy weensy little circle. I'm going to outline all of them. Might as well do them all at once, right? It's a little hard to outline something so tiny, but I did it. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to put this down here, and the reason I left this photo with it has the sign that introduces the farmer's market and shows the farmer's market from a bit of a distance, so I really like the composition of this, but I thought that I could do some journaling on the driveway there, or put some type of elements or something on the driveway. But what I would love is one of those Allie Edwards words, but I ran out of them. I've already used them everywhere else, right? So yeah, I end up just putting nothing by the 1. It's just a 1 floating there. It would look way better with an Allie Edwards word and then another one of those green strips. So you can see that I'm putting the 2 and the 3, and I'm incorporating them into little clusters that I already have here. And I really like how that looks. I wish I had a cluster for the farmer's market, but I just don't have one of those words. And I didn't get the digital version of this kit, so I could probably figure something out, but I didn't want to bother with it, so I didn't. I it's fine the way it is. It's a little plain, but it's okay. I used a roller date stamp just to say the 17th of May, 2026. Because all of these things took place on the same day. So it's basically the 3 different stops that we made on our day of just kind of, having a good day in Nova Scotia. So the journaling for 01 says first stop was Hubbard's Farmers Market. And then I put next we stopped to watch the surf. And 3, we went for a hike in Bootlear's Point. It looks like I need some necessary coffee before I can do that 3rd little journaling point. Let me know below, are you a coffee drinker or a snacker while you're scrapbooking, or do you keep food and drink out of your scrap room? I'd love to hear. Leave me a comment below. So I have this cat post-it note that reminds me of what I wanted to do with this card. And I am taking my time getting to it. This is not a super long video, so I'm not sure why I left all this footage in. But anyhow, I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of this, just using my ATG for this spread, and it nicely covers up the bottom shape so that you don't have to think about that. Just going to trim it down a little bit. And then I'm using my corrector tape to add a white edge to that photo, because when I trimmed it off, it trimmed off the white edge, and I want it to look the same on both sides. I'm outlining and adding a few little dots and scribbles to the edges of the outlining. Then I'm adding an extra 2 lines to the bottom just to emphasize that fact that this shape does look like it's pointing down at the photo. My journaling here says, after the forsythia was cut down, there is room for the lilac and hydrangea. Next to go, Weigela, which is the other massive bush that needed to be cut down to nothing. I had no idea how big these were when I planted them. When we first bought the house and we're kind of like it was on an empty lot. Like we built this house, and so it was nature all around us. And I'm just looking up how to spell Weigela, which is not how I'm pronouncing it. I think I'm mispronouncing it. But anyhow, I had no idea that these bushes would grow into trees, and so I would not have put them so close to the house or so close to each other if I had known, because they were tiny when I got them. So it looks like we're almost done. It looks like we are done. I'm just going to set these up for photos, and I'll jump ahead and show you how it looks in the pockets. I know it's very satisfying to see a page come together like this. So whenever my videos are short enough, I like to include the process of sliding these into the pockets. Every once in a while, I get a comment from someone who has watched my Project Life and is not familiar with how Project Life works. And so they ask me, what do you do with all these cards? And so every once in a while, if I have time, I do like to include this part just so that people can see how it comes together. And I find it very satisfying to see it all together in the pockets at the end, even though it's kind of shiny and it's hard to take photos or to really show the video of it in its pockets. I still really like it. So I think you're going to get a quick look at the 2 of them together. There you go. There they are together. And I like to show the flips as well. And for some reason, I'm showing you April too, because I guess I was proud of it. That insert was really fun. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you check it out. That's April, by the way. Before we jump into the final photos, I want to give a quick shout out to my amazing Patreon supporters. These folks who are my tiaras, they help make this channel happen, and I'm grateful for each and every one of them. Tiaras get early ad-free access to all of my process videos, plus real-time unedited versions, often in the form of live streams with interaction and fun. We have a Discord server that's really cozy and supportive and fun. And I also have some classes and series and stuff up there on my Patreon that aren't on my public YouTube channel. So please hop over there and join me. My membership costs as little as $1, and I have a pay what you can model, so everybody gets the access to the same content no matter what you pay. So I'd invite you to hop on over there and check it out if you'd like to support me. If not, thank you so much for watching anyways, all the way to the end. I really appreciate that. Take care and have a really great scrappy week. Bye-bye.